For the last section in this chapter, we're going to look at converting between the US and metric systems of measure, and then we're going to talk about converting different temperatures, okay? So far in the three sections prior to this, we converted exclusively in the metric system or exclusively in the US system. We never merged the two, okay? That's what we're going to do in this system. So because we're converting length metric or US or weight metric or US or capacity metric or US, we're going to at some time need to convert between the two. And that's what we're going to do in this worksheet. We're going to have these conversions that allow us to bounce from US to metric or vice versa, okay? And I have written here, because we use both the US and metric systems in the US, it is important that we know how to convert between the two different systems. And it certainly comes up. Like, we typically drive miles, but we need to know how to convert that to kilometers. A lot of our medications are in milligrams. We use liters for soda, for example. So there are definitely times where we need to convert between the two. Okay. The good news is we don't have to learn a new process. Okay. Basically, when you're converting between the two systems, we have to use dimensional analysis and those unit fractions. Okay, so that's maybe a slight bummer because converting in the metric system is nice because we just move decimals around. But when we start converting metric to US, we have to go back to dimensional analysis. So, with that said, let's remember that we use dimensional analysis to do this, and that is the process of multiplying one unit of measure by one or more unit fractions to convert to a different unit of measure. And what's a slight bummer about this too is there are a bunch of different conversions. Now, you do not have to memorize these conversions. Your instructor, if you're in a face-to-face class, should have given you a conversion chart. If you're in a fully online class, look in Moodle. There should be a conversion chart. You don't have to memorize them. You need to know how to pick which conversion to use, and you need to know how to use it and when to use it, but you don't have to memorize them, okay? So pretty much every single problem in this worksheet, we're going to have some conversion that we have to find on a conversion sheet, okay? And then we use that to create a unit fraction, okay? Almost all conversions between these two systems are approximations, and that is really important to understand. So just about every conversion that we have that takes us from US to metric or vice versa is going to be an approximation, meaning it's a rounded value, which means all of our answers are largely going to be approximations. So there's going to be a lot of rounding when you convert between the two systems. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Example 1 says perform each conversion, include units with each answer, and it does say here round to the nearest tenth as needed. So if we do need a round, we want one decimal place. So for part A, it says convert 75 miles to kilometers. So let's go to a conversion sheet that I have kind of handy, and we're going to find some conversion that relates miles and kilometers, okay? There it is. So miles are definitely length, kilometer is definitely length. So we need to find some metric to US conversion that takes us from miles to kilometers, okay? So we've got US to metric down here. So we're definitely talking length and we want kilometers and miles. So we have here that 1 kilometer is approximately 0.62 miles, okay? So with this conversion sheet that I have, this is literally just snipping images from your ebook. We have just length US in metric, we have weight US in metric, we have capacity US in metric, and then we have US to metric, okay? So this is the one we're looking at. And we have that 1 kilometer is approximately, again, 0.62 miles. So let's go back to our worksheet. Okay, so we know that 1 kilometer is approximately 0.62 miles. So let's go ahead and set this up for dimensional analysis. So I'm going to start with what I have, which is 75 miles. I want to multiply that by a unit fraction that relates miles and kilometers. I want miles in the denominator, kilometers in the numerator. And the conversion we have is that 1 kilometer is approximately 0.62 miles. Okay, so we can see here that miles have canceled, leaving kilometers in the numerator. When we clean this up, we get 75 times 1 kilometers divided by 0.62. And we can let the calculator do the side work. These are all going to be sort of nasty answers, so we're going to use the calculator a bit more here. So 75 divided by 0.62. So 75 divided by 0.62. And remember, the directions said round to the nearest tenth. That means we want one decimal place in our answer. So I get 120.967. So I would round technically to the 9. That 6 tells me to round up, which makes the 9 really a 10. So this one I'll show you on paper, but we essentially round this to 121, okay? So let me show you. We ended up with approximately 120.967. Well, we wanted to round to the nearest tenth as needed, so that's 1 decimal place. Well, directly to the right of that 9, I have a 6. That tells me to round up. When we round up, we add 1 to the rounding digit. Well, 9 plus 1 is 10, so I keep a 0 and I carry a 1. So that makes this 121.0. We would say 75 miles is approximately 121 kilometers. Okay. Now, next up, we have milliliters to quarts, and this is going to be somewhat of a wild ride. So when you're dealing with quarts, quarts are very similar to liters. Okay, they're a close approximation to each other. So they're kind of like, I would say, like sister measurements. Okay, so what we could do here is we could convert from milliliters to liters, and then from liters to quarts. Okay. So what we want to do is go to that conversion sheet and see if we can find some conversion that involves liters and quarts, okay? So this is going to be a lot of back and forth, but I think we can handle it. We're tough. All right, so when we're dealing with liters and quarts, that's capacity or volume. So we're going to look at this US to metric portion, and we're going to go metric to US. So I see here that there is 1 liter in there's approximately 1.06 quarts in 1 liter is what I should say. So 1 liter is approximately 1.06 quarts. So let's write that down, and then we'll do some work. So we have that 1 liter is approximately 1.06 quarts. So what I want to do now is I want to convert my 12,500 milliliters to liters first, okay? So when we're in the metric system, remember it's kilo, hecto, deca, basic unit. So I'm going to just do BU for basic unit. And then we have deci, centi, milli. So I'm essentially starting at milli and going back to the basic unit because I want to take milliliters to just liters, okay? So I would need to move to the left 1, 2, 3 times, okay? So if I don't see a decimal, we put it at the end of the number and we go back 1, 2, 3 times. So what I really have here is that I have 12.5 liters to quarts. And that's essentially the conversion that we're going to do using dimensional analysis, okay? So I have 12.5 liters. I need to multiply that by a unit fraction that relates liters and quarts, and I want liters in the denominator so that liters will cancel. So I know there's 1 liter in approximately 1.06 quarts, or I could say there's 1.06 quarts in 1 liter. All right, liters cancel, leaving quarts in the numerator, which is exactly what we want. And so when we clean this up, we get 12.5 times 1.06 quarts. And we're going to round to 1 decimal place as needed. So let's go to the calculator and let the calculator do the side work. So we want to type in 12.5 times 1.06. All right, so we have 12.5 times 1.06. And that gives us 13.25, okay? So with a nice answer like this, you could really just leave it 13.25, but the directions do tell us to round to the nearest tenth as needed. So we get 13.25. If we round to the nearest tenth, that's this 2. Directly to the right of a 2, we have a 5, which tells us to round up. So we would say this is approximately 13.3 quarts. All right, so 12,500 milliliters is 12.5 liters, which is approximately 13.3 quarts, okay? And then I did this, and there are days where I regret some of what I do in worksheets. So I've basically created 3 of these tables, one for length, one for weight, one for capacity. And so we're basically given 1 unit of measure, and then we have to convert to the other 4, okay? So example 2 says, fill in the table, give exact answers, or round to 1 decimal place when necessary, okay? So we were given that the height of an Asian elephant is 3 yards, okay? So we need to convert yards to meters, centimeters, feet, and inches. So what we want to do is we want to try to get as many exact answers as we possibly can. So that means we want to convert within the system that we were given initially first, and then convert across systems last. So that means I want to convert yards to feet and inches first, okay? So let's go ahead and convert to feet. So I know that 3 yards can be converted to feet because there is a conversion that relates feet and yards, and it just so happens there is 1 yard for every 3 feet. So yards cancel, feet are left in the numerator, which is awesome. And if we clean it up, we get 3 times 3 feet or 9 feet. So the height of an Asian elephant would be 9 feet. Okay, now we want to convert 9 feet to inches. Okay, because that would be like the next unit in line. So if I have 9 feet, I know there's a conversion for feet and inches. It just so happens there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Make sure the feet are going to be the unit that cancels. So we want feet in the denominator of our unit fraction, inches in the numerator. So if we clean that up, we get 9 times 12 inches. And 9 times 12 happens to be 108. So we get 108 inches. So an Asian elephant is 108 inches. So now we need to mosey on over to the metric system. But let me tell you something about the metric system. When we first started talking about this lesson, I was like, hey, y'all, most of our conversions are approximations. They're mostly estimates. So if we're in the US system, everything's exact. If we're in the metric system, everything is exact. But if we start crossing between the two, they're approximations, with one really nice exception. Inches and centimeters, they have an exact conversion. So we're definitely going to convert to centimeters first and then centimeters to meters, okay? So let's go to our conversion sheet. Okay, now I just happen to remember feet and inches, and I also do happen to remember inches and centimeters, but I want to show you where to find it. So if we go to our conversion sheet again, we're going to go to the US to metric part, and we want to go to length. And if you see here, 2.54 centimeters is exactly 1 inch. So 2.54 centimeters for every inch, okay? So when I go to convert from inches to centimeters, it's going to be another exact. So we have 108 inches, and we're going to write a unit fraction relating inches and centimeters, and there are 2.54 centimeters for each inch. We want inches to cancel, so like the actual unit inches cancels, and we're left with centimeters in the numerator, which is exactly what we want. So I get 108 times 2.54 centimeters. Let's let the calculator do the side work for us. So we get, whoops, we get 108 times 2.54, which tells me we have 274.32 centimeters. So 274.32. 274.32. The directions tell us technically to round to 1 decimal place, but since this one's exact, I'm actually going to leave it. This is going to be the one time I'll leave it. But ordinarily, if your online homework says round to 1 decimal place, Lord have mercy, round to 1 decimal place. Okay? So now what we have is we have 274.32 centimeters that we need to convert to meters. So let's remind ourselves of the metric system, okay? So I'm going to write out the metric system up here. We have kilo, hecto, deca, a basic unit, which is just a meter here. We have deci, centi, and milli. So we're starting with centi, and we need to go to just the basic unit. So that tells me I need to move my decimal to the left twice, okay? So my decimal is here. I need to move it to the left twice, which tells me I get 2.7432. And if we rounded to 1 decimal place, that would be the 7. To the right of that, we have a 4, which tells me to round down. So I would say I have approximately 2.7 meters. So an Asian elephant is approximately 2.7 meters. Okay, so there you have it. Now, I wish I hadn't given us 3 of these to work through, but hindsight is 2020, and I gave us 3 of these to work through. So let's look at example 3, and then once we do example 3 and 4, that'll be the end of this video. So example 3 says fill in the table, give exact answers, or round to 1 decimal place when necessary, and we have the weight of a large female black bear. Well, we're told that a large female black bear is 3,600 ounces. Well, ounces are a US system of measurement, so I'm going to convert ounces to pounds. And then there's going to be a nice conversion from pounds to kilograms, and then we can go kilograms to ounces. Okay, so it's this is definitely a process. So the first thing we're going to do is look at 3,600 ounces to pounds. Okay, so I've got 3,600 ounces. I want to write a unit fraction that relates pounds and ounces, and what we need to remember is there are 16 ounces in every pound. Okay, so I want to multiply by 16 ounces for each 1 pound. Let me actually make that a little bit smaller so it fits better. I'm sorry. It's going to be the same process though. So 3,600 ounces, we're going to multiply it by 1 pound over 16 ounces. Ounces cancel, all right, leaving just pounds in the numerator. So when we clean this up, we get 3,600 pounds divided by 16, and we can let the calculator do the side work for us, okay? So 3,600 divided by 16, and we get 225 pounds. So that says a female black bear is approximately, or well, is 225 pounds according to our numbers. So 225, okay? Now let's convert 225 pounds to kilograms. So kilograms and pounds are kind of usually that like they're sort of like sister conversions. They're not the same at all, but they're similar within the two measurement systems. So we're going to convert 225 pounds to kilograms. So let's go to our conversion sheet to find a conversion that relates pounds and kilograms, okay? So on our conversion sheet, we're going to go to the US to metric part and we want to look at weight. And I can see here that 1 kilogram is approximately 2.2 pounds. Okay, so 1 kilogram is approximately 2.2 pounds. So we get 1 kilogram, approximately 2.2 pounds. So let's convert. So we have 225 pounds. We want to multiply that by a unit fraction relating pounds and kilograms. And we have that 1 kilogram is approximately 2.2 pounds. Well, pounds cancel, which is what we want, leaving kilograms in the numerator. So when I clean this up, I end up getting 225 kilograms divided by 2.2. And we can do this on the calculator. So 225 divided by 2.2. So 225 divided by 2.2 is 2.2 actually. And we're going to round one decimal place. So we get 102.27. So that 7 is going to round my 2 up to a 3. So we get 102.3. Okay. So 102.3 kilograms. And now we need to convert kilograms finally to grams. So the metric system is kilogram, hectogram, decagram, a single gram, decigram, centigram, kilogram, or milligram. Bless my heart. Milligram, please. All right. So we are starting with kilograms, which is down here. To get to just a single gram, we need to move to the right 1, 2, 3 times. So we're going to go 3 to the right. Well, what I have is 107.3 kilograms. So if I have 107.3, I need to move my decimal to the right 1, 2, 3. Fill in zeros for every time you had to move the decimal after the end of your number. So we get that the weight of a large female black bear would be 107,300 grams. Okay. So there you have it. Ounces to pounds because they're in the same measurement system, and then go pounds to kilograms, and then kilograms to just plain grams. And finally, the last one, example 4, same directions, fill in the table, give exact answers, round to one decimal place when necessary. And we were given the volume of a swimming pool is 375,000 liters. So liters is definitely metric. So we're going to convert to milliliters first, and then we're going to go liters to quarts because liters and quarts are really similar, and then quarts to gallons, okay? So let's go ahead and look at the metric system here. So we have kilo, hecto, deca, ooh, put an A. Remember, deca is DA whatever, and deci is just D. So DAL. A single liter, deci, centi, and then finally milli. So we've got 375,000 liters. We want to convert that to milliliters, okay? So we're starting here at liters, and we want to move to the right 1, 2, 3 times, okay? So we're going to go 3 to the right. Well, if I have 375,000, my decimal would technically be at the end, and I would need to move it 1, 2, 3 times, fill in a 0 for each of those, and that tells me that we have 375 million milliliters in a pool that has a capacity of 375,000 liters. Okay, so it's a lot of milliliters, y'all. Okay. Now, when we swap over from metric to US, the most likely conversion is going to be liters and quarts. Okay. So we're now going to take 375,000 liters and we're going to convert it to quarts. Okay. Now, we've already done a quarts and liters conversion, but let's go back to our conversion sheet just to remind ourselves. So if we go to the conversion sheet, we want to go to capacity or volume. So that's going to be this middle. And we have that 1 liter is approximately 1.06 quarts. We could also do 1 liter is approximately 0.26 gallons. It doesn't matter, but I've decided let's just convert to quarts first. Okay. So we have that 1 liter is approximately 1.06 quarts. Okay, so 1.06 over 1. So when I clean things up, liters cancel, quarts are left in the numerator, and that gives me 375,000 times 1.06 quarts. We are for sure going to let the calculator do this one for us. So 375,000. There's my mouse. 375,000 times 1.06, and we get 397,500. So that was nice. We actually get a pretty number here. So 397,500. I need to remember that. 397,500. So 397,500 quarts. So that is our final answer for quarts. And then finally, we're going to convert to gallons, and that's the end of this worksheet. So kudos for sticking with me. I know this was a long one. Okay, so we have 397,500 quarts. We want to convert that to gallons, and I know that there is a conversion for quarts and gallons, and it is that there are 4 quarts to 1 gallon. Okay, so when we clean this up, quarts cancel, gallons are left in the numerator, which is exactly what we want. And then cleaning up, I end up getting 397,500 gallons divided by 4. So we're for sure going to let the calculator do this one again. And let's see how many gallons we have. So we have 397,500 divided by 4. We get 99,375,000 gallons. So 99,375. Okay, so I'm going to write it up here. 99,375 gallons. And that's our final answer. So again, when I wrote this worksheet, this felt like a really good idea. And then making the video, this feels like a whole lot of work. Okay, so maybe one of these would have been really cool. 3 was kind of a bit much. Okay, now in the next video, we're going to talk, I think, about converting rates. So you have to remember what a rate is. We'll remind ourselves of that. And then eventually we'll get to temperature conversions. Okay.